Hi, this is Anagha Mudgal. Welcome back to the channel. So lately I've been busy with working on a documentary and that is why there's been a delay in coming out with a tutorial. So today I will quickly show you how to do a live recording using Motu's Ultralite built-in DSP, but any audio device which has a built-in DSP can be used. So let's get started. So first let's set our input signal in our DAW, and I'm going to enable phantom power because I'm using a condenser microphone. And now let's go live. So I just finished a live recording at 1:30 in the afternoon and I used my Motu Ultralite Mark 5 interface, and I'm going to quickly show you how I set up the live recording. So the live recording is going directly to the XLR camera and will also be recording in the DAW. So let's enable record. So let's shift to main mix. And here we have our channel strip. We have a 4-band parametric EQ. We have gate, compression. Then we have a panner for mono input, and we have a channel fader. So let's set our EQ. Now in a live recording, depending on where we're recording, we usually might encounter low rumble noises. So let's enable a low cut at around 100 Hz. Let's remove some resonance and maybe add a little presence. And then let's add a little air, a little sizzle. Now, you will notice that we do not have a de-esser. So be very careful when adding the air. And over here, we can see nothing is happening. So if I were to bring this over here, we can see it is not affecting our recording. That is because we have to go to input and change USB host from pre-FX to post-FX. Now if we go to main mix, and let's just bring this all the way slightly over here, and you can see that it is affecting our audio and our recording. So let's do this. There. So let me set this again. Okay. I'll shift this. And now let's check the dynamic section. Here we have gate and compression. Now we're feeding this relatively cleaner audio into our dynamics. Now let's activate gate. Now in a live recording, you would usually use the gate to eliminate any background noises. But we're in a studio right now, but I have my exhaust turned on. So now if I go completely silent, you can hear the exhaust. And it's sitting somewhere below -48. So let's set our threshold to -48. And we can hear the gate getting activated. I'll keep the attack at 2 and I'll set a relatively quicker release time. So that when I speak, the gate is deactivated, and as soon as I stop, the gate is activated. So now let's activate the compression. And we're going to use the compression to slightly balance out the audio. Now, at its basic level, compression reduces the dynamic range of an audio signal by attenuating the volume of the louder parts while leaving the quieter parts unaffected, thereby creating a more level sound. So we're going to use it like a leveler. At the same time, we do not want the audio signal to exceed a certain threshold. So let's set the threshold. Ratio is how much the compressor reduces the loudest sound, and we can set it up till 10, which means that it will not act as a limiter. So we'll set this to around 3:1, and we're going to keep a fast attack, 10 milliseconds is fine, and a relatively faster release time. So let's give it a little makeup gain to boost the compressed signal back to an appropriate level, because compression reduces the overall level of the signal. So let's give it a 2 dB gain. And now I'll speak a little louder hello, hello, hello. And you can see that it's not clipping. If I were to switch off the compression and I'll say hello, you can see it's clipping. So that's the compression. Now we are also provided with a reverb. So let's say you want to add a little room to your recording, maybe create an impression of a larger room. So you can use the reverb. And we have the mic in signal coming into the reverb. So this is the send. So let's unmute this. And let's bring up the fader by double clicking. And this is going to our reverb, which is going back as a return in our main mix over here. So let's also bring this fader up. Now, if we unmute this, we can hear this live. But let's pause this. And I'm going to record this again. So let's enable record. And we are checking if the reverb is being recorded. Let's pause. And we are checking if the reverb is being recorded. And we can see that it is not being recorded. So if we want our recording to have the reverb, let's change our input signal to a loopback. In the output tab, I have my loopback set to source main 1 and 2 mix. And now, if we enable record, let's check if the reverb is being recorded. Let's check if the reverb is being recorded. We can see that it is being recorded. Now let's check out the reverb settings. And we can choose from 3 room sizes: small, medium, and large. So let's shift to small and let's reduce the decay, which is the reverb tail, and let's reduce it to create a more smaller room. So now let's set the pre-delay, and I'm going to mute this for now. Pre-delay is the time between the direct sound and its first reflection. So it plays a crucial role in how we perceive reverb. So when a sound is made, it takes time for the sound to bounce off surfaces and then return to the listener. So this delay is the pre-delay time. And pre-delay can add a little clarity and can make the sound appear closer by creating a gap between the original sound and its reflection, and thereby emphasizing or putting emphasis on the direct sound. So let's set this to around 5 milliseconds. Now, damping controls the absorption of higher frequencies over time. Less damping would create a more brighter sound, and more damping would create a more warmer or a darker sound. So let's unmute this. And I'm going to increase the decay time so that we can listen to the damping effects more clearly. So let's increase the decay time. And this is less damping, which means more brighter tone. And this is more damping, which means it's a more warmer and a darker tone. Now let's check the width. Width is basically the stereo spread or the stereo image of the reverb. So let's shift this to large. And let's unmute this. So this is wide and this is narrow. Let me set this up. Okay, now let's check the EQ. Now this comes before the reverb. So we can eliminate any unwanted frequency before going to the reverb processor. So I'll unmute this. So let's set this on a low cut, slightly here, and I'm going to give this a low shelf somewhere in the high frequencies. And then I'm going to boost this slightly. Let's just a slight boost over here. And now from the mix, I'm going to slightly reduce the send level. And now if I mute it, this is what it sounds like. And if I were to enable it, we have a slight a sweetness to the voice. And this is how you do the live recording. And Ultralite Motu Mark 5 has an onboard DSP, which means that the DSP is built into the device. It has a dedicated chip that processes audio, and it provides us with zero latency. And you can use excellent reverb and the dynamics and the EQ for your live recording, as well as for recording in your DAW without being too heavy on the computer. So I'm also adding the live recording that I just recorded. And as for the Motu interface, this is how we do the live recording. Why did you choose to translate Devta Come On into English?
I found the inherent concept of Devtao Come On very inspiring, which was rekindling Vedant in every household. This book is already popular in Hindi, so I felt the need to take it further to the non-Hindi speaking reader as well. What happened was that a year ago, the publisher of Devtao Come On contacted me, and he wanted to know if there was an English edition to the book that existed, because he was receiving numerous inquiries for it. So this kind of served as an impetus to translate this into English. And it is called, in English, it is called The Gods Have Gone Silent.
The author of Devta Come On says that the book is written in such a way that it cannot be reduced to any conceptual category. Extreme care was taken in writing it. But you have used some basic concepts.
So, translating Brahm, Atma, and Vak and Som into English is challenging because they represent lived experiences for an average Indian. These concepts are deeply rooted in a way of our being, something that is impossible to convey in English, as they are tied to our lived experience. For instance, we awaken bodily in a world illuminated by the sun, the moon, sustained by air, water, earth, plants, and animals. It is a breathing, nurturing world and a live biosphere, a living, breathing ecology. At the same time, we are also born into language scripted worlds, that is, into linguistic and cultural worlds shaped by traditions and meanings. These worlds structure our survival practices, orienting and attuning us while simultaneously constraining us. So, in this way, we are both enwombed and enworlded.
Enwombed and enworlded. Interesting choice of words. They're very feminine.
Yes, although existence is ultimately indescribable and independent of our conceptual knowledge, categories, or attributes, we rely on certain foundational concepts to make these ideas intelligible to the English readers. So, these liberties have been explained in my introduction.
Why should we read this book on Adhyatma? There are already so many. What relevance does it have in today's world where science has become a way of life and artificial intelligence is poised to become as integral to our lives as the air we breathe, a fundamental element of our lived experience?
So, we go to war for the sake of what we hold dear to us. We live, build houses, style and groom ourselves. Every minute we are engaged with and concerned about things. Therefore, it is imperative that we know this I, this self. So, let me quote from the book. Our whole life revolves around I am and my world, my dreams, my child, my wife, my house, my religion, my God. With so many I's, it's no surprise that we've become attached to this identity. This attachment shapes how we see the world and ourselves. It influences our decisions, defines our priorities, and affects our relationships. But this attachment can also prevent us from seeing who we truly are, beyond the roles we play or the possessions we claim. So, what is this I that we work so hard to protect and define? Is it simply a collection of thoughts, roles, and experiences? To see this clearly is to step into these reflections and self reflections and recognize the truth. When your words and actions align with this realization, you fulfill your purpose to understand that you are more than the identity you create for yourself. There might be 1,000 worlds and 1,000 desires animating your life. And still, is there anything more important than knowing who you truly are? Now, you've also mentioned about the danger of AI. So let me recite the ending of one of Rajiv's poems. And now, are we more machine than maker? Our reflections shimmer, an alloy of spirit and algorithm. What we create, we become. So, this indeed is the danger staring at us in our face today. We are becoming increasingly like the machines we invent.
Indeed, we are becoming more and more like the machines we invent. So, what is the significance of the statement? And I quote here, "Do you have the Upanishads?" he asked. "Yes, we're in it, surrounded and sheltered in its openness. Look around." Is it something mystical?
Yeah, so this is a statement from the chapter The Screwdriver of Quantum Mechanics. So, this is a conversation between the author Rajiv and his friend on their way to Rajneesh Ashram in Pune. Now, this is not necessarily mystical or even profoundly philosophical, but I admit that I may not be fully qualified to answer it. But while translating this chapter, I had a lengthy discussion with Rajiv. From our conversations, my key takeaway is that this statement highlights the idea that the reality of the Upanishads are neither distant nor abstract. They are deeply embedded in our immediate and present reality. The statement emphasizes that there is no need to search for a far off or mystical truth. Instead, we are already living within it. It is a precondition for any subsequent inquiry or dissection of reality, including quantum mechanics. Only because it is can we do science or investigate or conceptualize.
What does the phrase "look around" mean? And what has it got to do with the book The Tao of Physics?
So, look around means that existence cannot be abstracted or broken down into metaphysical constructs. It is not a theoretical or an intellectual concept, but an undeniable, self evident reality. Sat means truth, being, or existence, is the undeniable presence that precedes all understanding and measurement. This presence is not a matter of belief or interpretation, and unlike symbols or metaphors, which point beyond themselves, Sat requires no explanation. It does not represent something else. It simply is. Also, this presence is not something we can fragment with the tools of abstraction or thought. Scientific methods, like the ones used in science and mechanics, often rely on measurement, which assumes a subject object relationship. But, but Sat transcends all dualities. It is the indivisible ground of all phenomena, encompassing both the subject and the object, existing as a totality within which measurement and division occur. Quantum mechanics, in its pursuit of dividing reality into particles, forces, and mathematical abstractions, risk overlooking this seamless unity. The Upanishadic presence reminds us of the limitations of such reductionism, urging us to perceive the wholeness of existence. So, to truly understand the world, we must recognize that we are already immersed in the truth, in the is of existence, and that this is precedes and underpins all attempts to measure or understand it. And so the being or isness is not a phenomena that can be dissected or understood through measurement because it is the ground of all phenomena.
Finally, is there any other message you would like to share with us?
Sure. If you've already purchased the Hindi version of Devta, come on, please rate it at Amazon and leave your review. English readers can freely download the Kindle review copy of The Gods Have Gone Silent. It shall be available for free for 5 days starting from Monday, that is the 9th December to 13th December 2024. Please write a short review if you can, or at least rate and rank it. It facilitates the reach of the book and brings us closer to our drive of rekindling Vedant in every household, an urgent need of today's India. Thank you.
So this is how we do live recording or live broadcast using Motu's Ultralite built-in DSP. Previously, people used mixers with analog circuitry, which was later replaced by DSP mixers. And in the case of Motu, we do not have physical faders or knobs, but it can be controlled using virtual mixers from your phone, your tab, such as an iPad. And that's all for this episode. For now, bye, take care, and see you next time.